And so there were goals for the students and there were goals for the community organization. So I think in the various discrete partnerships, there's evaluation at that level. But then there's also evaluation on the whole. So when you think about the aggregate of all those different programs, and you think about what you really want to ultimately achieve in a community context. Do you want to enhance employment? Do you want to improve education? I mean, what are the goals there, and how do you actually assess them? So I think that is another level of the conversation with evaluation as well. You had a question.
Actually, that was my
Uh-huh.
question, had to do with assessment, and particularly when you're working with the humanities. I mean, nothing
Mhm.
scares us more than numbers. So how do we evaluate
Yeah,
in a way that's identifiable?
yeah. The humanities.
Don't say it that way.
Oh, no, I'm a believer. I'm a believer, big believer. I just think that, with the humanities, it's always tricky because there's so much tremendous value there when we think about this notion of engagement and we think about how to improve communities. There's so much value there. The humanities really promote the kind of practices that we're talking about here in terms of critical thinking and collaboration and things of that sort. The humanities sort of facilitates that. But when you think about the sort of arts dimension of the humanities, that's also absolutely important and critical. The performing arts can open up pathways to conversations that ordinarily wouldn't even happen. I mean, so where are there places where the conversations are stuck because people are caught up on history or they're caught up on challenges around historical issues, racial issues, all sorts of factors that are going to be real in a community context so how do you leverage the tools of the humanities to help facilitate conversation? I mean, I think that's one. But I also think there are economic development factors, when you think about the arts. I mean, the reality is that, when you think about recreation in a community context, which I imagine is going to be something you're going to be talking about increasingly as you think about improving the quality of life in this area. What's the recreation? Where's the theater? Where's the music? All of that plays a critical role. So I think there's a lot there, but it tends to not get sort of fully unpacked to the degree that it could or should. But I think there's a lot of opportunity in that respect. But again, Imagining America, another resource.
Yes.
I mean, Imagining America has a lot to offer in this respect.
I think a big takeaway for us in the conversation is sort of what, and a lot of our questions were leaning this way, and what you talked about, which is there is this dichotomy of individual partnership kinds of exchanges between individual faculty and community partners or groups of faculty. Mm-hmm. And then there's the roll-up of all of that in terms of the institution's impact and the broad impact on a community. And you answered in terms of metrics, mm-hmm. and evaluation happening two ways. But it just makes this issue of engagement in a comprehensive way, in a way to think about it as an anchor institution, mm-hmm. very complex. And the alignment of those pieces are part of what's most difficult for a complex institution like the university. So this definitely fuels the dialogue and conversation, so much so that we want to continue to have that. And I know we've talked a little bit about the online process for that, and I think where we are, Dan, you want to give us a very...
So over at thecivicommons.com, you go to thecivicommons.com/CSU, go down to the bottom of that page after you see the beautiful video of Byron and a short brief letter from him. The most recent conversation is one that we created to capture all of the thinking in the month of April. Since the speakers are coming so quickly, once a week, it seemed to make more sense rather than to have 4 discrete conversations to try and bring together the many threads of conversation. So as I understand it, Byron, you're going to be posting 1 or 2 questions a week that you'd like people to engage with, and I'm going to put you on the spot and say you'll put one up today.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll write it for you if you want. And then we'll get an email out to everybody so that you can, we can keep this conversation going, and hopefully weave it in with the conversation, the ongoing dialogue from last week and what's coming up with Mark Chuck and then Dr. Saltmarsh.
And we're asking the speakers to check in on that dialogue from time to time, and incorporate thoughts they may have. So keep watch on what's happening.
Yeah, if you could add the link to Civic to your email.
It'll be in the email.
It
Don't
is
worry.
complex to
Oh,
go.
it'll be in the email.
First it is there, so we can go through
We'll
it.
make sure you've got 8 different ways to get there. Okay.
Next week, Mark Chuck, many of you know, Case, was on faculty in Levin, is coming, and I think he may actually have a colleague. And this is to really talk about some of the nitty-gritty work of, okay, how really do you do these partnerships at the community level, at the resident level? How do you cross these lines and bridges? How do you really create democratic partnerships and exchanges, and what are the challenges and pitfalls, and how do you overcome those in a real practical way? So that, I think that's going to be really a real contribution to the dialogue. But we definitely want to thank you, David, for your contribution.